Gentlemen, lean in for a moment, because what I'm about to share is not something most men ever hear. It's not taught in schools, it's not in movies, and it's rarely whispered among friends. Yet it has the power to completely change the way a woman experiences you, not just as a man, but as someone unforgettable. Most men go through life thinking that attraction is about charm, confidence, or looking a certain way. They think it's about being funny, having a high-status job, or showing off accomplishments. And while those things might catch her eye for a moment, they rarely capture her heart, her mind, or her desire. What women remember, what women think about long after a conversation ends, has almost nothing to do with what you show them, and everything to do with how you make them feel. Emotionally, mentally, and yes, subtly, even physically. And there is one simple, profound question that opens a woman's mind in a way most men would never dare to ask. It is not casual. It is not superficial. It is deep. It is intimate, and it works because it speaks to the part of her that rarely gets attention, the part of her that yearns to be understood. Before I tell you what this question is, I need you to understand a truth that most men miss. Women don't open emotionally to performance. They open to presence. Most men approach conversations like interviews, rapid-fire questions about her job, her hobbies, her daily routine, all of which keep the interaction safe, predictable, and forgettable. But the moment you stop performing, the moment you stop trying to impress, and instead enter a space of genuine curiosity and calm steadiness, that is when a woman begins to feel something different. That is when her attention sharpens, her heart softens, and her mind begins to consider possibilities she might otherwise keep locked away. Imagine this. You're sitting across from a woman at a quiet cafe, or perhaps in a soft-lit living room, and instead of the usual surface-level questions, you ask her something she has never been asked before. Something that invites her to explore a deeper layer of herself. And then, rather than responding immediately, you let her words sink in. You don't interrupt, you don't redirect, you don't offer your own story to compete for attention. You simply hold space for her to be fully heard. In that moment, something remarkable happens. She feels recognized. Not evaluated, not measured against your standards. Recognized, seen, valued. The question itself is simple in words but profound in effect. What's something about yourself that most people don't understand? It is a question that requires her to pause, reflect, and make a choice, to share, to trust, to reveal a piece of her inner world. And when she does, she will remember the man who asked it, not because of what he looks like, but because he invited her to exist fully without judgment. This is the first of the 3 hidden psychological triggers that make a man unforgettable. The recognition trigger. When a woman is recognized in her inner complexity, her brain associates you with safety, validation, and interest, things that are far more compelling than any superficial compliment. She remembers not your words, but how they made her feel: safe, curious, alive, understood. But here's where many men stumble. They hear this advice and think, I need to be intense. I need to go deep immediately. I need to impress her with my insight. And that is a mistake. Depth without presence can feel threatening, performative, or forced. True emotional connection does not come from a rehearsed script. It comes from a calm, steady presence, an ability to listen fully, and a willingness to let the conversation breathe. Women can sense immediately whether you are present or performing. Presence is magnetic. Performance is forgettable. Let me tell you the second trigger, because this one is even more powerful. Women do not open their bodies where they cannot open their hearts. It is a biological truth, a neurological reality. Oxytocin, dopamine, and other chemicals flood her system when she feels safe, accepted, and understood. But if she senses that your interest is only in her external appearance, her reactions, or her approval, the nervous system goes on high alert. She may smile, she may laugh, she may flirt, but she will keep her deeper self sealed. Emotional safety, not charm or bravado, is the gateway to desire. And emotional safety doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says. It doesn't mean being passive or soft. It means showing that you are comfortable holding complexity, ambiguity, and depth without judgment. It means listening when she speaks about her passions, her struggles, her past experiences, without trying to solve, redirect, or consume her story. It means asking gentle follow-ups. Why does that matter to you? Tell me more about that moment. How did that feel for you? Those small questions signal that you are not intimidated by her emotions. They signal that you are steady, grounded, and fully present. And nothing, I promise you, is more magnetic to a woman than a man who can create that space. Now, the third trigger is perhaps the most subtle, yet the most critical: the difference between need and desire. Most men misunderstand this completely. Need pushes women away, desire draws them in. A man who enters conversation desperate for approval, validation, or affirmation will trigger her defenses. She will sense the energy immediately. Conversely, a man who embodies his own worth, who is calm, confident, and unhurried, invites her in. He does not need her to complete him. He allows the interaction to unfold, curious and grounded. Presence becomes the silent signal that he is safe, that he is reliable, that he is desirable without striving. Think of it this way: if you chase her attention, she feels pursued. If you remain steady, if you create emotional space, she feels the choice to move closer, emotionally, mentally, and eventually physically. And that choice is far more compelling than any performance you could offer. The feminine energy thrives in freedom and in the experience of being chosen, not consumed. And that is precisely what makes a man unforgettable. So how do you use this in real life, without sounding scripted or awkward? The key is to integrate the question naturally into conversation. You don't need to preface it with heavy statements or elaborate explanations. You can weave it gently. I've been curious. What's something about yourself most people don't really understand? Or if the moment feels lighthearted, okay, serious question. What's one thing most people get wrong about you? It doesn't matter the exact phrasing. What matters is your tone, steady, present, curious, and free of neediness. And once she answers, your response is crucial. Do not redirect, do not one-up, do not interrupt. Simple acknowledgments work wonders. Thank you for sharing that. I understand why that matters to you. I'm glad you told me that. These phrases, spoken with authenticity, signal that you hold her world in your awareness without judgment. That simple act, hearing her fully, responding without ego, ignites the deeper emotional connection that forms the foundation of desire. Gentlemen, here's the reality. Most men never experience this level of connection because they are trained to impress rather than understand. They measure success by smiles, laughs, or fleeting reactions. But the man who learns to hold space, to listen without expectation, to embody calm presence, becomes unforgettable in a way that charm, looks, and status can never replicate. This approach changes everything. She doesn't just remember you. She thinks about you when she is alone. She replays your conversations, not because you were clever or funny, but because you allowed her to reveal herself safely, fully, and without pressure. She starts to trust you in ways she doesn't with other men. And trust, the kind that is deep, steady, and unshakable, is the most potent form of attraction there is. Here is the final truth I want to leave you with. Attraction is not about control, manipulation, or performance. It is about curiosity, presence, and the willingness to see a woman as fully human, complex, and worthy of being understood. That is the masculine art she will never forget. That is the energy that moves her toward you, not because she has to, but because she wants to. If you take one thing away from today, let it be this: the question you ask, the way you listen, and the presence you embody matter far more than anything you can do to impress her. Ask the right question, hold the space, and allow her to open. Your curiosity, steadiness, and grounded presence are the invisible threads that tie her attention, her heart, and her desire to you. And once you master this, you will find that attraction becomes effortless, natural, and deeply unforgettable. Because the man who understands this does not chase, does not perform, does not pressure. He simply creates a space where a woman can reveal herself, emotionally, mentally, and yes, physically, at her own pace. And that, gentlemen, is the difference between being remembered and being forgotten. Remember this: it is not the words you say, the status you hold, or the humor you deploy. It is the way you make her feel, the depth you invite, and the space you hold. That is the art of attraction, and the question that opens her world is your key. Ask it, listen fully. Be present, and watch as connection, desire, and intimacy unfold naturally, effortlessly, and memorably,